So I am Jackie, and we're at Kilter at the studio here, where we have it's our 16 by 12 prototype Kilter board. But the 12 by 12 section is the same as what a lot of you have in your gyms. Also, the 8 by 12 and even the 7 by 10 original Kilter board are all contained here. So we're going to use this board to do a little setting class. And so we're just going to start with the basics, and we're going to have another video well, it kind of explains the stuff in case folks don't know. But the way the Kilter board works is that there are, for the 12 by 12, there's 323 handholds and like 120 something footholds, or 154 feet. And you can light up any holds you want. And then when you go to climb, you can just pick any climbs in the database. Let me grab the phone here. So I can sort, as I swipe, different climbs come up that I have on my phone here. And you can also go sort the database in a bunch of different ways to find different climbs from different grades, or that different people have on playlists, or newest, best. There's a lot of different ways to sort. So, but what we're doing today is not sorting. We're setting our own climb. And then we're going to send the climbs to Touchstone, and they're going to put them all in a playlist called the Woman Up 2022 playlist. And then anybody can climb them. And then we're having a separate contest where you can submit climbs, film a video of yourself and share it, and also submit the climb to Touchstone, and they'll put it on the playlist for everybody else to find. And that way people all over the world can take part in Woman Up this year, because obviously everybody can't fly to San Francisco and help set the comp. It'd be way too many setters, but this way people can practice setting and be a part of Woman Up no matter where you live. So we are going to set a new problem today. So first thing you do on your app is you click the little plus, and it gives you a new screen, and it makes the wall completely grayed out, so nothing's lit up. And you want to make sure you're connected to the wall if you are alone. If you're not alone, you don't have to connect to the wall right away. You can set on the phone and then light it up on the wall and see what it looks like. And that way, if other people are climbing the Kilter board, you can still set, and then you can check out what you did periodically when it's your turn, and try the moves, and then make any edits you want to make. So, okay, so connected to the board, and we need a start move. So a lot of times people start sitting down. Maybe we'll start in the middle of the board for this right now. So here's a couple comfortable holds. We'll start with those. So if you pinch and zoom, you can actually change how big the screen is. It makes it a little easier. And then I want this hold here. So I'm going to hit this hold on the app, and it comes up as blue. Blue is a middle hold for a hand and a foot on the Kilter board. So we're going to hit it a couple times. Now with purple, that'd be a finish. Orange is a foot, and then going to green. So it's a start hold, so we want to leave it green. You can have up to 2 start holds on any boulder, and you have to have at least 1 start hold, or the app won't let you. That way everybody knows where to start. So we're going to have 2 start holds. This isn't super comfortable for one hand. So the second one's going to be here. So start. Okay, so there's our holds. And now there's a couple things you can do. You can set at home on your couch if you want. But I like to, especially when you're learning to set, it's really good to climb as you go, so you can kind of understand what's happening. So I'm going to put my shoes on and just kind of pull through and show you guys what I would be thinking to figure out like what move to do next. So shoes. So one thing you want to think about also is what kind of hold do you want to use. So these holds are both pretty positive. This wall's at 40 degrees right now. And yeah, and Monica, jump in if there's anything, if I'm out of screen, or if there's anything people want to ask at any point.
Yeah, I would say if you have a moment, just to bring the phone closer so that they can see the app and what you're clicking on. It's a little far when you're,
Yeah, we made a video that we're going to post, one that just shows the app, and then one that's kind of me talking through another problem as well. And those will be up on the Touchstone site later today. So here's the app, and I'm zooming in, and like, we'll say I want this foot. So I'll click on it a few times and click through to make it a foot. And then we'll leave it up. Now it's orange on the board, so we know we can stand on it. So zoom out, zoom in, accidental tap. You end up doing finger disco. Oh boy, zoom in, off. I have to look at this or it's not going to work. But okay, back to where we were. And I think people get intimidated because they don't know what to do next, basically. You kind of are like, well, what moves are exciting or what moves are interesting? And that's all good, but when you start setting, especially, it's good to just kind of set what seems fun to you or what seems comfortable or what works. And then from there, you can kind of change and edit and make things more difficult as you do make the right challenges for yourself. But right now, we're just trying to make a fun build problem. So, shoes out of the way so I don't land on them. So we have the start, and we speculated about a foot. I think we're going to want another foot, but I'm just going to pull on and see what seems comfortable. So, this is the first live setting Zoom I've ever done, so we're waiting a little bit here, folks. So you have your handholds, and the foot seems like it's in a good place. And now I probably want another foot to just help me push my butt. And then, as you can all see, I have a lot of options. I can go straight up. I could go this way. I could go out left. Whatever seems fun. So folks.
Go left.
Left. All right, left. Why don't we just do kind of a big move to this pretty good hold? That'll be fun. So, all right, I'll light this up. So I'm not trying to overthink it. We're just going with like what's to be fun. So big move to this hold, and I'm going to push myself left. I need a low foot, so that kind of low. Maybe I can put my foot a little higher and help push my body more to the left. And feet are really a place where you can play with what the move's going to be like quite a bit. So maybe I pick a different start foot, put both my feet higher, and that makes that move easier. Maybe I leave the same start foot. That's a bit harder and reachier. I'm going to go with higher foot because it'll be more accessible to more people. So that, and then where to put my right foot? Okay, so first move. The other thing you want to think, like climbing to different heights and different angles. So this is a 40-degree wall. So every move I'm doing, I'm thinking, okay, at 40 degrees, how far can I go comfortably? How far can other people go comfortably? Also, if this was tipped back to vertical, how would this change the move? So with this vertical, this might feel a lot farther because you're just going straight up, but you're not going out at all. If the wall was a lot steeper, this would probably be more comfortable. The hands are a little bit worse, but you can just kind of lean over a bit more when the wall's steeper. So there's our feet. Let's just check. My foot feels kind of far away. All right. So we're going to pick that other foot here. I'm also going to put this one on because I'm pretty tall. And so my experience is going to be a little different from most of you, I would think. The other thing that we could do, you can see it's a bit of a big move. Why don't we add a bumping hand? So this hand isn't quite good enough to want to move off it again, but it is good enough to help you pull yourself sideways. So we'll light that up. So now we have the start of a boulder problem. You can see on the app here. And again, it's not saved yet. I can still change it. Oh, over here. Sorry. There we go. So it's not saved yet. I can still change it at any time. And now we have to decide what the next move's going to be. So again, if you're in a gym with a bunch of other people, maybe you get this far and someone else wants to climb something and you need to like take a break. So you can just pick a random finish hold. You have to have a finish hold on to save it. We'll just say that for now. And then you click next, and then you can give it a name. Like we'll call this Woman Up Tester Live. Or let's call it Woman Up Live. And now you can see this button here, save as draft, is green. That's great. So now I'm going to save it. And now draft. So I can come back and find it anytime, but I can go like climb some other boulders or whatever I want to do. And I'll just have that to come back to. Because it's obviously not done yet, so I don't want to publish it. So some other people had their turn, and now I'm back, and I'm going to climb some more. So we'll go up here to this meatball menu. I think it's a meatball menu, and click Edit. And now I'm keep setting my boulder problem. So this is not the finish hole I want, so I'm going to get rid of it for now. and we will find the next move. When you're setting a boulder problem, any kind of boulder problem in a gym or on a board, one of the things, big decision is what holds you're going to use. So what kind of holds, and then also what angle they're pointed at, and how supported the feet are, and what moves you're doing. But the holds, positivity and hold type can really give the climb a certain character. And so you have to decide, like, okay, I want all the holds to be the same positivity or similar positivity, or like I want a really specific crux where the holds are a lot harder or different, like a pinch after a bunch of underkillings, or not underkillings, in cuts, pinch, the pinch is like stands out. So you kind of decide like what you want your climb to revolve around. And we started at the beginning here, but something else you can do is be like, okay, I really want to use, this side pole, the slopey side pole, and I want to cross to that higher slopey side pole. And I want that on my climb for sure. And then you would set that move first, and then set out of it, and then set up to it, which we can do later. But now we're going to go with this boulder. We started at the beginning. We gave a bumping hold. We got this good hold here. Now we're swinging to the right, and we have to decide what we're going to do. We want this climb to be pretty friendly. So it's not super easy. It's a good challenge. And so why don't we have a couple options. We could do like something cool, like stabilize and do a tight cross to a hard hold. We could do a big cross. We could do a lesser cross to a good hold, just sort of swing around a little bit. We can go straight up. You can also go up and right and make sort of more of a let's see. Monica, you want to vote? Do we have any votes?
Let's get Jennifer to vote. Up and right.
Up and right. All right, so we're going to go up and right. The first thing you think is, what position am I in when I get here? Because then you have to decide how you're creating the position you're going to next. So we're going to go up and right. So we have a lot of options. If we go too close here, they might skip the first move we want them to do, so we can't do that. So come over here, got this foot, it's really good. This foot's going away, we're swinging this way. So now we have to control our body so we can move off of this hold. And we can do that in a few different ways. We could catch and then get them a good in-cut foot to dig into to go up and right. We could have them back step, do something stable to go up and right. We could step on a closer hold and start them along the way to going up and right. There's a lot of options. And because the yellow color means foot only, you can use it for big holds or small holds. People won't grab it, which is really cool because sometimes having a really big hold for a foot in the middle of the sequence is a good way to help get the climber to do the move you want, so they can really dig with the foot and take weight off their arms. But if it was the same color, people might grab it and that would ruin the sequence. So having the yellow is really cool for root setting on the Kilter board. So, okay, up and right. Jennifer, I asked for it. So let's see. Why don't we do a big move? We could do a crimp, would be pretty good. We could move, let's see. So let's say we're going to do the step through feet. We'll use that. So we could go to crimp, this crimp, go to an underclipping. We could do a smaller move like to this pinch. The cool thing with the first move is that you could go with either hand. The right hand's a little higher and a little better than the left, and the better foot's out there. So it's going to be more natural to move left first, which is great. Because we have an intermediate hand, we're going to risk someone to grab that and try to do the next move like if we did short move like that. And since we want them to do this bump, we want them to get this experience, we need to make sure the next hold is high enough that it's really not comfortable to skip doing the first move we want. So, lost the phone. Let's say crimp. In fact, let's give them the crimp and then we're going to give them this. So we're going to make this problem a little harder than we were originally going to make it. We're going to give them the crimp. Oh, actually, we had that crimp too, didn't we? 1, 2, 3. And then this hold out here. So now you have a challenge because you have these 3 different holds and you don't know how to navigate them, right? You just go up to this and then cross and then come through, or do you hit bump, bump in, bump out, bump in? And so for us as a setter, we decide where we want them to go next, and that will help inform how we want them to get through this section, which informs how we want them to use their feet. His feet are pretty good, so we can give them a little worse hands if their feet are a little high and then they'll pull on them. So, okay. Oh, we gotta add those feet. So we stepped through here in one of those, right? Let's put those on. And then the other thing about when you're considering giving people a bump is that a lot of times a bumping hold helps you get your hips up, and also you'll want to move a foot after you grab the bumping hold to then help you do the next move to get the additional height. So put this phone down. I'm going to stay here. Oh, I totally lit up the wrong foot. We're gonna fix the foot, and then there we go. Okay. So here, foot, stabilization foot, and push. Okay. So if I want to bump, I'm gonna move my foot. I'm gonna bump. That can help me balance. Come in, and now up to this. Then we can bump to this. Now we just did a whole bunch with just a really small section of wall, which is pretty cool. And we could cross, but it'd be a lot harder. So that's okay. So we moved our foot there, I believe. And then we fuddled around. And then, so now we're in a position where we have our left hand on the middle hold, and our right hand's almost just like a helper hand. We have a good foot, and we have to decide what we want to do next. Again, we were going to make this boulder a little bit more positive holds. They're still positive, but they're a little smaller, and we're going to keep that theme now because I like it. And this is a fun little section. So we've done a big left hand move. So maybe we can do a big right hand move up here. We could continue like walking way to the right if we wanted to. But I think we're going to go up here to this side pole right here. So this holds another kind of ear. It's similar in character to these ones, which is kind of cool. And then if we do that move, we're going to be this foot, which is pretty close to the hands. Big move, and then you're going to really want a foot to support that hold, support pushing left for the finish. So we'll say, we give him a big foot. I guess we'll just try it and see what seems normal. It's completely fine to just try the moves as you go to, especially until you get used to the board and the board layout and kind of where things are going to be. So get this hold, foot, bam, bump, in, bump, in. Okay, so now I want to turn my body. Here's a good foot. And push left, and we'll say give them like a glorious finish hold. And then this is really important. People often don't remember to put feet on for the finish. But I like to give people plenty of feet to match the finish. Not only on this angle, but on steeper angles. If you leave the feet too low to finish, then you basically have to campus match the finish every time, which is not cool. So, finish hand, feet. Should really have Kevin. Kevin's assisting. If you have a friend with you, they can like light up the holds as you step on them, which is also cool. And change them as you go. So, did I have my foot way up here? It did. And then we had some finished feet. We did. Maybe this one. That one. That, and then, oh, it was this. And then we had like one more over to the left. Almost any of these would be fine. So that, let's try. There we go. Okay, so Here we are, push here. I'm gonna put this one on instead. So the other thing to think about is this right foot out here is it's at the edge of the 12 by 12 board. I think so. 1, 2, 3. So this foot's in the 12 by 12 board. Everything else is in the 8 by 12. So if I put this foot on, this problem becomes a 12 by 12 problem. If I choose to skip this foot, this problem's in the 8 by 12 range, which means that more people can climb it because there's more. The 8 by 12 is contained within the 12 by 12, so includes more boards. For that reason, I may take this foot off. It was obviously for comfort for us. So 6 this. So I need something in this range instead. It was a push foot. It was helping me push on my hand, but I still had this good other foot to stand on. So I'm going to switch it to this and see if that move feels relatively the same. If it does, probably leave this on instead. The other option is I could go with this one. These are on the 12 by 12 or the 8 by 12. I could also just go, if this is too hard, I could just use like a big handhold. It won't change the nature of the climb that much because these handholds are quite a bit harder. And they'll make it really fun at different angles. So these are the things you think about. Let's try that part, finalize it, and then see if there are any questions about this part, and then go from there. So we'll try to climb it, I guess, too. So go. Yeah, all right, it's okay. So I'm a little extended right there on my foot. So why don't we give, I don't want it to be too boring. Maybe we'll give one more foot just for people that are a lot shorter. Usually adding a foot does not ruin the experience. People are going to do what's most comfortable for them. Doesn't ruin the experience for taller climbers. It gives more people and more angles a chance, which is what we want. So having considered short feet at the top, we want to make sure we also considered short feet at the bottom. We gave him an extra foot here. We gave him a bumping hand. So hopefully this problem will be accessible by climbers of a variety of sizes, which is really what we're going for here. So, and this problem is currently saved under Kevin's account to me, his phone. What I'm going to do is just save it for now as a draft again. And then I want to move it onto my phone and we'll add it to the playlist. So giving me a couple of minutes to be able to breathe again. Does anybody, it's pretty hot here right now. Does anybody have any initial questions about, like, questions you have when you're trying to set on the Kilter board? It could be about the app. It could be about just like what you're thinking about certain moves, how to support certain moves, anything like that.
So I'll ask the first one. So Jackie, back when I used to set, I used to reach with my elbow and with my hand. Is that still like a good way to think about setting for all different types of heights, or is there a better way of setting for height?
So you can reach with your elbow. So that what the person is referring to is like you do a move, you want to see if the small person can reach it, you see if you can touch it with your elbow. The problem with that method is like a lot of times what the short people are missing is the foot. It actually helps to help them get their foot higher and do a longer move with their hands. Obviously they can't go past their own reach, but helping them get their foot up is more important a lot of the times, in my experience, than just giving them a closer hand. So it is an okay rule of thumb, but often like you can test the distance between your foot and your elbow, but when you fix something, maybe what you fix is the foot, not the handhold. One thing I used to do was go around to like the kids or my friends who are shorter than me, and we would do the whole like stand next to me and see how you can reach test. And that would give me a good idea of their total length. And then I would just try to apply that to the wall. Again, foot to hand is really important. You see a lot of strong, shorter climbers doing a lot of moves where they either get their foot super high and like lock off, or they do huge moves and they lose their feet every time. And it's very cool and admirable to be able to do that. But the way that I climb is my feet are on most of the time. And so I try to give people the same opportunity that I'm giving myself when I set these climbs.
Great. We have another question. Can you define hold positivity?
Oh yeah. Okay, so the way that I think about hold positivity is if the roof, if the wall is a roof, like just the monkey bar would be super positive because you get behind it, and then a jug. There's like a couple times if over jug, you can easily hang from the roof by like one hand or maybe two. So if it's a jug, your hand goes in. If it's an over jug, it dips back a little like a bar and it helps hook your hand. So then you get a jug, kind of can be in cut, and then slopey jugs. Those start to get really hard on a roof, right? They're in cut, but the higher you get on them or the steeper the wall is, the harder they are to hang on to. And so you get a slopey jug, slopier, sort of in cut, flat hold. That's obviously on roof only going to work if you have compression. Then you get into slopers, which again require compression on roofs, or if you're on a lower angle wall, the further below them you are, the easier they are to hold, basically. So the most positive hold you can hold on any angle of wall, it'd be like fairly easy to hold. And then they get more and more slopey. So the other thing to think about is not just positivity, but how many digits of your finger you can get in, because like this hold is pretty positive in that it's pretty in cut, but it's kind of blocky and bulgy, and I can really only get like one and a quarter pads behind it, which means it's still quite a hard hold, even though it's very positive and feels kind of big. So you want to think about that as well. And when you're thinking about shorter climbers, if you give them a really good positive jug they can really dig behind and pull straight out from the wall, they can often go a bit farther off of it. Whereas the difference for a short climber with a hold like this might be way more significant because they're getting way higher on it, and then they're starting to feel slopier a lot faster. So it's really important to consider what you're asking of different sized people when you're trying to set a move for different sized people, and also understand what experience they're going to have. Yeah, it's very common, I think, in gyms or setting easy. Like you'll see on the Kilter board, there's a lot of problems that are sandbagged. We're working on creating some verified problems, so there's like a better reference for everybody. But there are a lot of problems that are sandbagged where somebody will climb this that I just set, and they'll say, "Oh, it's V2," because for them they don't know because they climb V8 all the time, and the holds seem pretty decent, and they're kind of tall, so the moves aren't very hard. But that's not fair to this problem or to the people that are climbing this problem, because handholds are hard handholds for a V2 climber. I would argue that they're not V2 handholds. And then the moves are hard moves for a V2 climber. I would say they're not really V2 moves. If every hold was super in cut, maybe it'd be V2, but at this angle, with these holds, it's certainly not. But it's very common that you'll find problems like this that will be graded V2 or V0 or V3. And the experience that you have trying to climb it is not the same as what the grade says. And all I have to say to that is try to understand that a lot of people don't really know how to grade. Everybody's frame of reference is their local area, many of which are sandbag, or their gym. And the gym is based on what the setters of the gym know and what their experience is. So I think we're evolving as an industry right now towards a better understanding of difficulty and grades, and we're just not there yet. Yeah, we're not there yet. We're trying with the Kilter board to make a verified problem sets that will help give people a frame of reference for what we think is appropriate, and hopefully help get that idea out there a little bit more. The traditional board, the moon board, obviously it's awesome. It's old school, super hardcore. It's very, very, very sandbag, and that's sort of like a mark of pride amongst moon board users. That's fine, but it doesn't make it a good tool. And so we're trying to make this as a good tool for folks to better understand grading and grades and moves and stuff like that. So
Jackie,
climb,
Jackie, so someone actually asked, how do we assign a grade, which we'll get to later in the video. But they did also ask, how's the best way to do that? So maybe when you're talking about this grade, you can give them tips of how to assess their own set.
Yeah. One thing is if you have people with you, have a few people climb it and just watch what experience they have, because that'll help a little. If you're like, oh, like Marsha always climbs the V5s in the gym and she can't do this, like probably not V4, you know, maybe it's hard V5, maybe it's V6, like, so you have a baseline from that kind of information. And then, yeah, so I like, you can never be truly objective, but I like to say objective criteria. So how good are the holds? What are the hand positions of the holds? How big are the moves? How good are the feet? How far away are the feet? What is the wall angle? So realistically, for a scale of, there's V17 in bouldering, if you start at V0, that's 18 grades. And then we have like, V4 minus and V4 plus because we have the French grades. There's a lot of grades in climbing. And it doesn't really make sense that like the second or third grade be this wall that people hit. It just doesn't make sense. And it's not fair because it doesn't take into account the differences between the super easiest jug haul and then a jug haul that requires some bigger moves or some more complicated feet or some more complicated movement. And so the objective criteria that you want to think about are like, what are those moves? What are the feet? What is the body being asked to do? And is that something that a brand new climber is going to be able to do? Is that something that requires a certain amount of experience or ability? And then again, like I can look at this hold and say, this hold's pretty positive, and I could say, oh, it's a jug. People do that all the time. It's a jug, just write it up, it's a jug. But it's actually not really a jug, and also most of the ways you use this hold, it's not going to feel like a jug. Maybe if you're pulling straight down on it, and you're just going like a little ways, it feels pretty juggy. But if you start to go far, like you said, you saw my hand kind of started to pop off this because the smaller, it's really 3.5 fingers wide, only 1.25 digits deep. So not really a jug. Also, like what direction the footholds are pointing. So put this foot on as a potential left foot if this foot's too far away. This actually does not fulfill the separate but criteria that I try to do with footholds. It's positive, but it's smaller than this, and it's pointed not quite the right direction. So because the handhold is sideways, you can still use a foot like that to help direct your body the way you want to go, but it's not quite the same. Because it's a board, I can't make it quite the same. I could choose to put this on as a foot only, just to make it like as close as it could be, and maybe we'll do that in forerunning, but for now I'm going to see if this foot works and is close enough. So I guess if you find yourself trying, you shouldn't discount your own effort. So if I'm like currently like, okay, I'm climbing V5 in the gym like pretty regularly, and then I set something and it takes me like, I don't even do it that day. And the next day I come in and I do it first go and I go, oh, I must have been tired the other day. I'm sure it's only like V5 minus. That's not fair to me. And that's also not fair to everybody else, because even if I was a little tired, I set it and I learned something from trying it, which means my experience the next day, I have to take that into account, that I'm more experienced on the climb, more experienced on the movement. I understand the holds. I'm fresh. All those things can change how the climb feels. And so that's why it's really difficult to grade based on just how it felt, and why it's good to be like, okay, like this hold's pretty hard though, actually it's flat. And that's kind of a big move. And then your body's trying to go that way. So I don't think that a V2 climber could do this, or this would be very hard for a V3 climber. I think there's a good chance that just this section is V4 minus. And then what's the next part like? Okay, it's harder at the top, and holds are a little bit harder too. So that there's a good chance it's V4 plus or it's V5 minus. And then I climb it, my friends climb it. We just get an idea of like, hey, like, Josie struggled on that, and she usually does these pretty quickly. Is this something she's bad at, or is it harder than we think it is? And then also just when I'm setting it in the gym, I set the climb and I think it's easier than everybody else thinks it is. I trust them because I know what to do and the movements feel natural for me. We all know that when you learn moves, they feel easier. So it's more fair and objective for me to trust everybody else's opinion than my own in a situation like that. Hopefully that's somewhat helpful, but I'm happy to go on more about it if they're more related.
There's another question of what are some tips to make a boulder more fun to climb?
Okay. So fun. Fun depends on like what your definition of fun is, right? Like people really enjoy just like crimpy ladders where you have to like do really tensiony moves, and other people enjoy just like big jumping around kind of things. So I would say start by identifying like fun to you, and don't worry about everybody else. That there's a lot of people that will never acknowledge that you set a good climb, even if it's a really fun climb, and it's not about you, it's about them. So I would say don't worry about that for now if you can. But so like, okay, let's say that I'm like looking through the Kilter board app and I find a climb and I'm like, whoa, this climb, like this move's super cool. Like here, can you guys see this whole boulder, Kev? Okay, so say we set this climb, and I think that this move here on the climb is like, it's a big move, but it's really cool. But I cannot do the start at all. And like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to. And like, it's a good challenge for me, and I'll save it to my projects list, but it's not something I'm going to do this week. I can reset this climb and just preserve the move that I like the most and then set the rest of it to suit me. And that's completely legitimate. So let's say like, so it's called Stone Baby, this one is. So I could either set the climb almost the same and just fix the part I can't do for myself. Like, okay, I can't deal with this undercling, so I'm gonna use this side pull and another foot. And I could call it like Stone Baby variation because it's almost the same climb and it's slightly different. Or I could just pull the one move I like out of it and set a completely different start and a completely different finish. And that's something I think is a cool way to start understanding like fun setting is like, okay, what do I want to try to do with one move and then what supports that? So we'll say I like that big move. So we'll go, okay, so we're going to set a new problem. So here's the app. Give me in the frame. And then we'll hit this dot here and we'll go set folder. So now we have a blank again. And then we'll light up the move that we definitely want to make sure that we do. So there's that's not the catch hold. There's that. And then we had this big side pull and we had this hold here. Okay, so this is the cool move that I'm excited about because I think doing like a big wingy move is kind of fun. And I think other people think that move's fun too. And I want my friends to like my boulder. So, all right, set this move. My friends are super into big moves. But also like my little sister is along. I don't actually have a little sister, but we'll say I do. And she cannot reach this move. But I want her to enjoy the climb as well. So maybe I'll even add another hold to give her, we'll give her a bumping hold to give her a similar experience that I'm going to have in the climb and take away the big move. Or she's not here today. We'll get rid of that. I want to maintain the character of this through the rest of the climb that I'm setting. So, okay, this is a big wingy move and that's fun for me. So it'd be really fun for me, I think, to do another big kind of wing move at the bottom to just feel like I'm kind of thugging through this thing because that's what I feel like doing today. So we'll go down here and we'll see what would support that. So maybe we'll go side pull, another side pull. These are pretty close together. And when the holds are close together, you have to kind of generate the movement with your legs and your hips. Versus the handles are farther apart, you can still push your legs and hips, but your hands can help you pull a little bit more. When they're close together, it's like you have to kind of wing your upper body using your legs, hips, and maybe your elbows a little bit more. So we're going to do that for this move. And we'll just pick foot. That's too far over. Pick this foot. Okay, so we got a foot, and then we want another foot, so we'll pick something over here. It's too high. See, it's okay, I've been doing this for however long, years and years and years, and you still don't get it right every time. It's just a process. So big move here. All right, just holds a little bit hard. We wanted to swing our feet over and do a big move next. So what are the support feet for that? You just give them a big foot to encourage them to swing over to it. Because big feet are easier to hit. I don't see any problem with that. That's not the right foot. Bam. How about one? Okay, so a big foot. And now I want to give them a foot and help them push up to this. So we give them a little foot because I have a big foot for the right. Keep them stable. Finding myself right now. There. Okay, so now here we are, and we're back to the first problem, but we don't have the same start as the first problem had, so we still need to add feet for the big move. So we can either try to use exactly the same feet and just make them yellow so no one grabs them, which is fine.
Hey, Jackie, while we're talking about feet, there's a question that says, are your feet only supposed to stay on the designated footholds yellow, or can you also track on hand holds green and blue?
Yes, you can track on handholds green and blue. So green is start hands and you can step on them. Blue is middle hands and you can step on them. And then yellow is just feet. Exactly. So you don't grab the yellow. Everything else that's lit up, you get to grab and step on. So if the finish hold's purple and the climb traverses across the top and you have to swing your feet up and hit the finish hold with your foot first, that's totally fine. You can step on purple. Or if the climb goes in an arc and drops down to the finish, you could step on purple. You just don't want to grab yellow is really the only rule. Cool? All right, so I don't have to set this whole boulder because the real question was, what makes it fun? Or how do you set something fun? And to me, how you set something fun is you pick a fun move you want to do, and then you set something that flows reasonably well in and out of that fun move. So the climber gets to enjoy the fun move because getting to the fun move feels similar difficulty or correct, definitely not harder. And then getting out of the fun move is reasonable. It feels like it flows. So somebody's not like, oh, this move's so cool, but the start's really awkward, and then I fall off the finish hole every time because there's no feet. That's not what you want. You want to try to make it fun first. And just one of the biggest things people do when they worry too much about like really intricate like plans for beta, like you're going to grab this thing like this and come under it like this and flip over and do this and turn around this way. And a lot of times climbers will never do that anyways, and then you just get frustrated when you're the setter. And it'll serve you a lot better to just learn how to set the initial moves, basic moves, fun moves, and then kind of go from there and make it more difficult. So like, say I have the gas stone hold and I want to move up. If you have a gas stone, the best way to generate power is to push into the gas stone, which means a high opposing foot to help you push into the gas stone. And depending if that foot's below you or off to the side or straight sideways, it changes kind of where your body go from that gas stone. And so a way to start experimenting is to set the fun move that you like, and then just try tweaking the feet a little bit or the target hold and seeing how much that changes it. And you'll learn a lot about like movement, your own movement, also your friend's movement, and you'll start to have more ideas from that. Like, oh wow, like I went way farther than I thought I could. I wonder if I could hit this other gas stone and then hold the foot cut and then do another move back, and you start to have these ideas of like, that'd be cool if that worked. And because we have this save as draft mode, let's do it again. So we'll make a finish hold. We'll save this as Woman Up draft. WU draft 2, still a draft. Hit save. So now I can like go back to all these if I want to. So I have like a couple drafts in here that I can refer to basically whenever if I want to go back and like experiment with climbs and stuff. But I definitely recommend just setting some basic, easy, fun stuff and saving it and like seeing how people do on it, showing your friends and stuff. Because, and if you put a video, you send a video to Woman Up, we'll be, we have that playlist so people can like watch your beta video and find the fun from the playlist. And then that'll be a really cool way too to see like what other women do with what you climb, with what you set for these and how you climb other people's problems. Let's get English. More questions?
There's one that asks how you save again, but I'm pretty sure we'll get there.
Okay.
We save the other problem. I'll ask a question that I think someone might be curious on is there a good wall angle that someone should set on as a new setter?
Oh, I mean, so I think it really depends on what you are comfortable climbing on. Like if you're always in the roof at your gym, then try setting on steep. And if you're always on the lower angle walls, try putting it up to lower angle. I think 20 degrees is a really nice angle. But vertical's fine too. And then 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 are like angles on the Kilter board. And if you're comfortable with those angles, that's totally great. And you can actually set it on a steeper angle or lesser steep angle, save the draft, move the board to a different angle and try those angles. So you can learn like, oh man, like this problem's still really cool at 60 degrees, but I really need a foot. And you can just add the foot and then you can tip it back to the low angle, make sure it doesn't ruin it. And then you've learned something and there's a good boulder. So let's just do the save question. So here's the boulder that we set already. If I want to save this, I click the 3 dots at the top, and then I can click publish, and it'll go live. Or if I'm not sure if it's done, I go edit, and then I'm back to the edit screen, and I can make my changes, whatever I want to do. Get rid of those. Okay, so, and then I go next, and then here, if I turn off save as draft, now it's off, it's not green anymore. And I click save, that boulder will be published to the database. Anybody can see it as soon as I click save. So the other things you can do, you can like problems. So if I'm going through and I'm like, oh, this problem's cool, I can hit the like, well, fat finger in it. You hit the like, and that saves my like problems. I can also, I can save it as like a tag, so I can make my playlists. And then what we're doing for Woman Up is we're making a playlist, a circuit that's specifically for the boulders everybody's going to be setting for this. So Touchstone Woman Up 2022 is like search and circuits. Everybody can see this, and it's going to have all the problems people add to climb. And so if I climb this problem, well, this one's a draft, so we'll pick one that's not a draft. Here's one that's done. So if I've climbed this problem, I hit the check mark, and then I can say, oh, it took me 3 tries, and it was a 3-star boulder, and I think it was B4 plus. And then if I want to write notes, I can write like Reachy or like very cool. And then I click save. And now that boulder will be saved. I'm just going to do this and I'll undo it. Now that boulder will be saved. So it has a grade this angle. And then if I want to see the angles, there's a little angle thing here. I click on it and it shows me this climb at all the angles and what grades it has at different angles. So right now only has 1 ascent at this angle. That's the only thing it has. But if people did it at different angles, it would show different grades and different stars maybe for different angles. And then if I go to my profile, I can see the logbook, and this is all Kevin, so thank you, Kevin. And I can see the climbs that I did. If I want to revisit them, or like, oh, I'm going to delete this ascent because I didn't really do it. And edit your logbook if you need to. It's going a little slow right now because we have the Zoom going, I think.
Hey, Jackie, there's a question that says, are drafts available for others to see or just the working setter?
Just working setter. So your draft is saved in your app and it isn't in the database for everybody else until you publish it. So you could like work with your friends on your phone together, but you can't share a draft. Oh, but let's talk about sharing a boulder. So if I really like this climb, I can go to this dots here and go share. And now I have the option to text it to one of my friends, or I can email it, I can Gmail it to somebody. I can Gmail it to Touchstone. They can add it to the Women Up playlist. So that's the 3 dots and the share. And so if I climb that I really like in the database, I can share it with my friend who's like in another gym or like going to the gym later that day or whatever. And then they click on it, it'll open in their app right to that problem. I guess like something else I want to say is I think people can be really intimidated because route settings, you can get overwhelmed really quickly, especially at first. And also like there's maybe other people on the board and you don't want to like not know what you're doing. And I totally understand that. I think that like if you could sit back and just kind of set while people are climbing, set a draft and then light it up and just give it a try, or have your friends try it and just kind of get comfortable with that process of when it's your turn, taking the board for a minute and then handing it back off. And you'll start to feel more comfortable, I think, pretty quickly with the board at different angles for everybody. And there's holds for everybody. There's intended like sequences for everybody. There's things you're going to be able to put together that'll suit you and your friends. And that should be true for any type of climber. We have had a lot of para climbing groups use a Kilter board. We've had kids groups use the Kilter board and youth teams. We've had more mature climbers use the Kilter board. We've had super strong climbers use the Kilter board and super new climbers. So really whatever your ability is, it doesn't mean you shouldn't set what's fun for you. And in fact, having some new climbers set easier climbs that they can do and enjoy is great because it helps other new climbers find stuff to climb.
Oh, there was a question, but it's not needed anymore.
Okay. Yeah, and then you'll get comfortable with like which holds are where, so it goes a little faster versus like looking around and being like, oh God, what should I go to next? Again, adding bumping holds, like and a hold, I don't see any problem with that. I think it's a great way to help make a move more doable. You can always make a version of the climb in the future that's harder, has fewer feet, that's on the bumping holds. Name it a variation if you want. So this is supposed to be a tool to help people enjoy climbing, learn about climbing, find climbs, and train climbing. So
there's a question that just came through. I forgot if you covered this, but are there benchmark problems that folks think are representative of typical grades?
Yes. They're not benchmarks yet. We've been working on, we're calling them verified problems. We've been working on the verification project for like 18 months or something. Basically, if you consider that there are 15 angles or something, is that every 5-degree angle? How many? 16 angles, and they're all the different grades, and we want to have some problems at each grade, at each angle possible for people to refer to. It's just taking us a really long time to get those verified problem lists out. And we didn't want to launch it till we had it fairly complete, at least in a good range of stuff. So we are working on it. diligently. Kevin is doing a lot of work on that. We are trying to help him so his brain doesn't explode. It's a lot. But we're really psyched about it, and we're hopeful that it will help people understand not just like what we think are appropriate grade ranges, but also feel a little bit more validated at certain grade ranges where maybe traditional like hard bodies are like, oh, that's V2, and it's just not V2. Like, you know, like this pinch is not on any V2s at this angle. It's just not. You just can't use this pinch as a V2 climber at this angle. It's not a thing that happens. So stuff like that people don't, not on purpose, but maybe they don't understand because they are really strong at certain things, or they grew up climbing in old school where everything's really hard. We're trying to create a new tool that people can use to create a more realistic grade scale. And we're basing it largely on our experience setting. We've climbed between most people at Kilter, we've climbed all over the world, and also climbed a bunch of different grades all over the world, and then also set at a bunch of different gyms, and set at gyms for a long time. So what experience we created at commercial gyms and competitions we've set for, what grade ranges seemed appropriate, worked well for the clientele over a long period of time. We're trying to stick to that kind of range. So we're trying to give like a realistic, again, objective criteria, fun range of climbs at each different grade with harder and easier in any given circuit to help people learn and progress.
There's two questions, Jackie. One is, what's also coming from Kilter? Like, what other cool things are coming? And then what tips do you have for naming projects or naming?
Naming climbs. Okay, so I have a list on my phone. It's just called boulder problem names, and I write, it's like a note, and I just write down like any little like funny turn of phrase that I come across. So I have like hundreds of them that I don't use, because then when I'm setting, something will pop into my head and I'll be like, oh, I'm calling this exploding cigar. And that's that. Or it'll be like the song I'm listening to. But I do have a list of climb names that I think are funny, or cute, or kind of a cool phrase or a cool concept.
Yeah. And then were there any other cool things Kilter's doing in the future?
Yeah. So let me take you on a quick tour. I'm going to show. So there's Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. This is a hardboard prototype we're still working on. We've had like several versions of this. Like this is probably the 6th or 7th version. We just keep learning things about what we want from this board in terms of the holds and the style. So you see there's some big holds on it. Ian's made new holds for a bunch of new holds for it from things we've learned. So this will eventually come out. It'll be really cool. The original Kilter board, I said, this is a 12 by 12 Kilter board with actually a 16 by 12 frame. So there are wings on it. Some gyms are ready for this when it's done, but there's these extra columns of 3 hands and feet on each edge. And just that extra 4 feet makes the board feel, again, way bigger, because instead of these holds being only the edge for like left hands, suddenly they're right hands. You have all these holds to the side of them, and you can like climb totally different lines. So we're working on that. And then we also have Cobalt. These are these. And then we have the home board. So this is a 10 by 10 version of the home board. We have a 10 by 12. So actually there's in some gyms, it goes well next to the Kilter board. And this board we came out during the pandemic. And the whole thing is we actually used a lot of the holds that were on the hardboard, and now we're making new holds for that. A lot of the holds are smaller. This board does really, really well at lower angles. So I like it a lot at like 20, 30 degrees. We have a lot of users at 30, 40, 45 degrees. You can also climb it at steeper. It's just quite hard. So it has, it has some little mini jugs and ink cuts and stuff too, but it has a lot of these smaller kind of little patina edges and stuff like that. And every hold is bolt on. And then same thing, you can have orange that are only feet, or blue, green that are hands and feet. So you can set really specifically, even though a lot of the holds are bigger. We have a lot of smaller big holds, and they make still technical challenging feet, like that pinch. This part's awful, this part's decent. This guy here has got a little hooded edge, so directs you. So this thing's really fun. A bunch of gyms now are putting in this board next to an original Kilter board. This is the OG Kilter board. This is what we developed the whole thing on. It's pretty dirty. And then what else do we have going on? I mean, those are the main things. We're making a bunch of holds, and we're working on we have an adjustable slab. We have a big adjustable steep wall. So we have a bunch of different projects going like that to make gyms, just to make better tools for setters and for gyms, basically.
Oh. Does anyone have any questions on the challenge this month? On the process? Just set your climb, share it on Instagram, and then make sure to share it to the info@touchstoneclimbing.com email address so that you can get entered and so that other people can climb on your climbs. And if you have any questions along the way, you can email info@ and we'll help you out.
Yeah, and we made a couple. I think this will be live, or this will be recorded. And we have another setting video and like a just really simple overhead how to use the app video for people to refer to if they need to check back if you have questions that you forgot the answer to or anything like that.
Yeah, there was a question about if the information's online. It is. If you go to the Woman Up website under Touchstone Climbing, there is a area where there's a button that says Woman Up She Sets Challenge, and all the information is on there.
Yeah, and hopefully this is just a cool way for people to participate in Woman Up this year. Just like set, climb, and watch other women get to work on it, and also have a place to find those climbs. Because we're working on more public playlists and stuff for the app too, but it's just always slow going. So it's just one of the first experiments with that. Thanks everybody for coming, and yeah, you guys can also like message me on Instagram if you have any other questions, Kilter board, or just my personal, which is the girl in long shorts. And yeah, I'm happy to help. I mean, I was really excited to like get more people, especially more women and folks setting on the Kilter board, because I think it has a lot to offer all types of climbers, and the more climbers that are setting, the more representation we have for those styles of climbs. So it'll be more fun for folks.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody. I'm looking forward to your routes.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them. All right.
Bye.
Bye.